Welcome back to Marketing Gems. This week's Marketing Gems is all about GDPR and marketing. Now, this one's a bit of a tough subject, and I'm just going to state this straight away. This video is guidance only, and you should seek legal advice for your own business. So take what I say with a pinch of salt and make sure you do your own research, just like I did. I've spent a month kind of trawling everything that's out there to give you the best advice, and what I've kind of come up with today is a bit of a list that's hopefully straightforward. I'm going to be talking about what is GDPR, why is it happening, who does it affect, and how does it affect your business. And I'm just going to go through that very, very simply. So if you want the technical side of things and all the ins and outs and what does forgotten mean and who's a data controller and all those kind of technical phrases that are being bandied around with GDPR, then have a look at my blog that goes along with this video for all the links to the appropriate sources. So what is GDPR? Well, GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation. It is a piece of EU legislation. Now, despite the fact that we're in divorce proceedings with the rest of Europe, Brexit, we are still impacted by GDPR, and don't let businesses fool you. So far I've spoken to businesses that either are on top of it, they know all about it and they're on top of their game. You've got ones that are aware of it but don't really know where to start. You've got other people that are thinking that GDPR doesn't affect them or their business profession, and you've got people that are going, nah, I don't need to worry about that, I really don't know where to start. So there's quite a few different theories out there. So hopefully today I shall give you some top tips. Do excuse me if I keep glancing, I just want to make sure I get all my notes right. So next up is who is affected. So anyone who does business in the EU and holds personal data. So that includes you sole traders, you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and yes, every industry profession. So whether you're a driving instructor, a marketing person, a HR person, a builder, an auction site, business coach, whatever, this piece of legislation will affect your business. So what is personal data? So personal data is anything that could identify an individual. So that includes things like your name, your email address, your home address, your phone number, your date of birth, you name it, that's included in that personal data. So the reason GDPR is coming into place is that the last time we had this kind of legislation was the Data Protection Act 1998. So that's pre the Internet of Everything. So that was before the explosion of gated forms that's asking for your email addresses and social media sites. So there's a real need to update the legislation around how we handle data because of the internet. But the other two reasons really it's coming into force is because the government wants to hold businesses accountable for the data that they hold. The data that they hold on you. And then thirdly, it's around giving us as individuals, as people, access and freedom of access to the information that businesses hold on us. So we'll be able to request rights to see what information people hold on us. We'll also have the right to be forgotten. So if you're fed of hearing from a particular company, then you have that right to ask them to remove you from their databases. So how does GDPR affect you? So GDPR is all about how you collect, store and use that personal data. So this will touch businesses in all manner of areas. So from how you market, if you've got employees, if you've got customers, and if you've got suppliers. So supply information such as like invoices. So whenever there's a new bit of legislation, I see it as housekeeping for businesses. I was once in the finance industry when the Financial Conduct Authority regulation came into force, and I've got to be honest, it felt like hell. At the time, as a marketing professional with a financial organisation, we felt really restricted. We felt tied down, like all of a sudden, any kind of creative marketing ideas we might have, we suddenly had to run through a legal team, and it just felt like hell, to be honest. But the truth was, the FCA regulation was there to make marketing and advertising from the financial industry fair and transparent. So it was to try and get rid of those kind of scrupulous financial companies. A lot of them were like where you get a loan from the TV and it's got like a ridiculous percent APR on top of it. So it's trying to cut down on things like that. So with so the only restriction we had is that we had to evidence what we wanted to say in any copy. So instead of bullshitting basically, or bigging up, as we all do, we big up our jobs, we big up our businesses. In the financial world, you now have to be able to justify and evidence what you're saying. So for example, if you were in a finance industry and you want to say we're number one, then you would have to evidence and back up that you are number one, whether that's through awards, surveys, or however else you might evidence that. So that's my take on it, that it's all about housekeeping. And if you have your house in order, you have nothing to worry about. So what can you do for your business? I appreciate that if you're in the position of thinking that GDPR doesn't affect you, or you're scared of it, or you don't know where to start, it can seem like a minefield. And I've spoken to some people that think that, sole traders don't need to worry because they'll make examples of the big guys. Yes, they will make some big, shocking examples after the 25th of May. There'll be somebody who's breached GDPR, no doubt, that's in court and being fined millions of pounds. But that doesn't mean you should be negligent on your side. You should at least do the bare minimum. So I've got some top tips for you. So first of all, don't just go on hearsay, and including this video, to be honest. I've spent a month doing my own research for myself personally in business, but also to do this Marketing Gems video. And there's a lot of opposite opinions out there. So I had this great debate on LinkedIn and on a Facebook group about whether business email addresses are in fact included in GDPR. And some people say no, you can still carry on emailing them. Some say no, you can't, you can't. And the truth of the matter is, if it has a name in it and you can identify someone, it's still classed as personal data. If it was a info@ address or sales@ address, that's slightly different. But then again, why would you want to be emailing somebody at info@? That's not very targeted. But I've got a load of reference links in my blog, so do go and check that out so you can check out the sources for yourself. Secondly, if you are doing any kind of email or text message marketing, you have to go back and retrospectively get people to opt back in to carry on hearing from you before the 25th of May. If you email them afterwards without knowing that they definitely opted in to hear from you, then you are breaking the rules. I'm going to give you a big example here, probably get on my soapbox a bit. A lot of us as self-employed entrepreneurs, we build up our database by going to networking. So you go to networking, you get a load of business cards, you go back to the office and you put them on a spreadsheet or whatever CRM system you've got, and they become part of your mailing list. Well, when was the last time that you went to a networking group that was full of your ideal customers? You're bloody kidding yourself if you think you did. Not everybody in the room wants to be sold to, and definitely doesn't meet your criteria as an ideal customer. Just because they've freely given you a business card does not mean they've ticked a box somewhere to say, yes, I'm happy to go on your mailing list. I want to hear about your holidays, your skincare, your baby wear clothes. I mean, seriously, I don't have kids. Stop sending me this shit. And if I want to go on holiday, I'm going to choose Airbnb. I don't need a travel consultant. So please, for God's sake, forget GDPR for a second. Stop adding people that you meet at networking to your mailing list, because it's annoying. Okay. But as well as under GDPR, I would recommend to you that you get a double opt-in. So if you feel like you've met someone genuinely at a networking event who could be a potential customer and you want to add them to that mailing list, they might have given you their business card as part of the networking format, not necessarily because they want to connect with you. They might have given you their business card because they want a bit more information, but that does not mean they want to go on your mailing list. So if you collect business cards and you typically put them on a database, then just change your habits slightly. by when you get those, when you get all your business cards together, send them an email and ask them to opt in. So it's almost like a double opt-in. So you feel like you've got the first opt-in because they've given you their business card, but ask them again. Say, I'd like to send you a weekly, fortnightly, daily, whatever it might be, email, text, whatever. Ask for their permission. Don't assume. The whole thing about GDPR is that you can't assume consent. My third suggestion to you is to review how you collect information, how you collect personal data. So a bit like the networking and business cards. So for example, if you've got a website and you gate content, maybe you give away a free ebook, you have a contact form. If a part of that form process that you ask people to opt in, or maybe you automatically opt people in, first of all, stop automatically opting them in, because that's a big no-no. Second of all, make sure it's really explicit about what they are opting into. So if you want to give away a piece of content or have a tick box on your contact form on your website, just make sure you are clear about what you want to send them and how often you want to send them, and make it clear that there's a way for them to opt out or be forgotten later down the line. So that's covered about your website. When you review how you collect the data, also checked what you are collecting too. So under GDPR, there's this whole conversation, and again, it's a bit of jargon they call legitimate reason or legitimate purpose. So if you're collecting people's date of birth, well, why do you need their date of birth? You go back to source and look at those legitimate reasons as to why you're collecting every single piece of personal data information, and don't collect unnecessary bits of information. And then my fourth recommendation is to review how you're storing that data. So do you record how you collected it in the first place? One of the big things with GDPR, again, it comes back to that housekeeping, making sure your house is in order, make sure your business is in order, make sure you have an audit trail recorded. And the big thing is for whether you're dealing with customers, prospects, suppliers, you need a policy of how you're going to collect, store and use data, and that needs to be published on your website. Again, all of this will hopefully be in the links that I'll share on my blog, so do have a look at that. I hope you're all clear now. So GDPR basically affects us all, so pull your finger out and get something sorted. Make sure you opt people back into your marketing if you haven't done so already. Now, if you're worried that this is probably going to diminish the amount of contacts that you have in your database, then there's a couple of points I want to make there. One, if they don't opt back in, then they probably don't want to hear from you. Don't take that to heart. Don't take that personally. It just means that you will have a leaner marketing list. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. You only have to look at your previous marketing stats. If you've previously been adding everybody from networking to your mailing list, I bet if you went back and had a look at your open rates for those emails, I bet it won't be very high, because you're not targeting your ideal customers. So it's a good thing that you won't have everyone resubscribe and want to hear from you. So don't take it to heart. Secondly, give them a warning. If you send them one email, you've got about 65 days now, 63 days until GDPR kicks in on the 25th of May. So rather than send them an email to say, are you going to opt in, yes or no? If you send out maybe a newsletter, sales newsletter, just send them a note within that to say, you know, GDPR is coming, just give you a heads up, you're going to receive an email. If you want to continue getting this great content, hearing from me, then please reply to this email when you get it. The other thing you can do is try other methods. So getting people to opt in through social media, through text messages. So just try through a few different ways of increasing or keeping a good sample of data that you want to be able to target through your marketing. So hopefully you've took something away from this week's Marketing Gems. I've tried to take a subject that's very dry but also very complicated and give you some top tips and top information really. And like I said, you'll find lots of useful links in the blog as well.